Joining me tonight on Newshour Direct and Exclusive is Mr. S. Gurumurthy, editor of Thuglak, and who doesn't know him? Diwali greetings to you as we enter the Diwali week, Mr. Gurumurthy. And let me ask you, since we last spoke, there has been a shift in politics, in narrative, and in a manner of speaking, the mood of the nation. I want to ask you, between the Lok Sabha elections and today, Hindutva is a failure. That's not a formula that works, coming down to batenge to katenge, which has become a narrative in the political world. Where do you think is this entire narrative going? Because on the one hand, there is this cry for caste and caste census and jiski jitni sankhya bhari, uski utne hissedari, and the other side is batenge to katenge. Where do you think this narrative is going? Which narrative is more powerful, and which narrative is on the winning side?
You see, these are all very short-term narratives which come and go. I feel that we have to take a period of quarter century, for instance, to understand how these debates move from time to time. There was a time when population was considered to be a burden economically. In the till 1990s, as someone who has closely followed economics, I was told that the people are a burden. So demography was considered to be a burden, and now people talk about demographic dividend. This is how things shift over a period. Of course, political narratives are based on election to election results, election to election responses of political parties. So I don't give much credence to it on a medium and long-term basis. If you want to know something about Hindutva, whether Hindutva is something which is a political phenomenon or an election phenomenon, then we can have a discussion on that. Hindutva was endorsed by Mahatma Gandhi. Hindu nationalism was endorsed by Pandit Nehru. Hindu attitude, Hindu foundation of India was endorsed by a person like Rajni Palme Dutt, who was a communist. All this was happening till 1940. So to say that the Hindutva foundation of India or the Hindu foundation of India will be changed by political discourse based on an election, I don't agree.
So when you saw the results of the Lok Sabha elections, there were two conclusions that came out of it. Number one, despite the Pran Pratishtha and the setting up of the Ram Mandir and fulfilling a long-standing promise, the BJP did not gain from it electorally. And number two was the factor wherein came that there was a distancing intellectually, between the RSS and the BJP. To what would you say the debacle, if you can call it that, from 303 to 240 seats for the BJP was really the result of?
You see, I don't think that this had anything to do with either the Ram Temple or Ram Janmabhoomi movement or the spirit of Rama. This had nothing to do with the election results. And I don't also agree that there was a great division between the RSS and the BJP, because I know both of them quite closely from inside. But the BJP, in a way, made it appear they have won the elections. If you give the impression you have won the elections, you are not going to work for the elections. I think the idea that we are getting 400, we have already got 400, is something which did the BJP in. This is my view. Of course, there are other factors, like for instance, false propaganda that if the BJP comes, the reservations will go. You know, these are all quick fix narratives which can change the complexion of the game in a week or 15 days. And this certainly did happen in UP. I feel that there are a combination of factors. I wouldn't reach any conclusion on the basis of the two factors that you mentioned, namely the Ram Temple and the RSS BJP issue.
So let me ask you, after the Lok Sabha elections came the Haryana elections, and there was a stunning victory by the BJP for a third term in Haryana, when most people believed that it was a done deal and the Congress was winning. In fact, cabinets were being made on paper. Do you think the comeback with which the BJP registered, its own strength as far as cadre politics goes, is enough for it to keep its this euphoria going in the Maharashtra and Jharkhand elections?
See, so far as Haryana is concerned, I felt that the BJP began relying on the organization more than mobilization. See, mobilization has been paying rich dividend to the BJP for the last 7-8 years. And to that extent, the organizational focus had got reduced. I think the Lok Sabha elections re-emphasized to the BJP that the more sustaining factor is the organizational work. And I think that is what the BJP did in Haryana. And to some extent, I think the Congress did to itself in Haryana what the BJP did to itself in the Lok Sabha elections by presuming it had won. So to that extent, the Congress people also became very presumptive that they are in power. And of course, within the Congress also there were internal difficulties. And so Haryana is again a combination of factors. The more important thing is that the BJP decided to get into ground level work, which has always been its strength. And if the BJP repeats it in Maharashtra and Jharkhand, because BJP is not a political party merely, it's a huge movement which roots the country in the pre-independence values. This is what is being forgotten in the contemporary discourse, that the pre-independence philosophy of India, the narrative of India, was forgotten after Jinnah passed the resolution for partition. The BJP is actually reinstating the Indian polity back to the pre-1940 situation.
So, Dr. Gurumurthy, today when we talk about a census, that there will be a census held next year, the fact that this census will happen after 14 years, do you really think that it is time that caste be taken into account? Or do you think religion works for India in terms of the census and the BJP's blueprint for the nation, as you say, conceived in the pre-1947 era, and caste should be left out of it? Which side of the debate do you stand on?
You see, historically, numbers began mattering only when the Abrahamic religions began counting the heads. Counting heads became a matter of ascertaining one's strength, evolved with the religious demography. Then came economic demography. They said the people are a burden. And of course, it goes back to Malthusian theory, who said the population has to be controlled. And that is how political demography conflicted with religious demography. Then the economic demography conflicted with religious demography. Then came political demography. Political demography is based on, this is the basis of democracy itself. And the people are involved in choosing the government, that which evolved in the 18th and 19th centuries. And so demographic consciousness has been evolving depending upon the paradigm shift that has been taking place. And now there is identity demography. Everybody wants the number of the caste or the community or the language or the region they belong to. So this will also pass through. I think none of this is going to be a very long-term phenomenon. It will hold field for some time. But there are so many socio-political, economic forces operating. I think even a caste census, if it comes, it will be subsumed into the religious census. Because no Hindu is going to say he only belongs to this caste and he is not a Hindu. And no Hindu is going to say he is only a Hindu and he doesn't belong to a particular caste. And this is the state of even Muslims and Christians in India. So my feeling is that this debate is also a good debate. But if it is intended only for securing and preserving vote banks, this will also collapse, just like the OBC politics collapsed. OBC politics collapsed because of MBCs. And Nitish Kumar carved out the MBCs and destroyed the OBC politics. Ramjan Bhumi eroded the OBC politics. And so this conflict between different identities and consciousness is the very diversity of India. And I feel it on a long-term basis, all this will even out in this country.
Dr. Gurumurthy, let me ask you, at a time when we are getting into the elections of Jharkhand and Maharashtra, the political fervor is intensifying, but there is also the discourse around democracy, which is very prominent these days. Prime Minister himself has raised concerns about demographic changes in Jharkhand, particularly the decline of the tribal population and the coming in of what you would call, infiltrators or, people like Rohingyas. This whole conversation is coming center stage. How do you respond to this?
You see, the idea of demography as destiny is Augustus Comte, the French philosopher of the 18th century. He is the one who coined the idea, demography is destiny. You see, previously, statecraft used to be centered around how much land you can occupy. Later, it became how many people you can command. So, demographic consciousness evolved all over the world, and except that there has been huge devastation of demography in Western world and Americas, which resulted in the slaughter and extermination of millions and millions. Asia was not subject to that. So the Asian demography grew. The Western demography lagged behind. But what has happened in the process? The liberal democracies which are centered in the Western countries have just 13% of world's population. And that is why G7 is holding India, because without India, the demographic world will be only just 13%. With India added, the demographic world is about a respectable 31%. Over 55% of the world is under autocracy. If autocratic world invades into democratic world, then democracy is a problem. This is the problem you see in Europe, in America, everywhere. Rohingya problem is a problem of not just India. It's a problem of Burma. It is a problem of Northeast. It is a problem of even Pakistan. It's a problem of Afghanistan. Nobody wants this. For example, even Palestinian refugees, the countries which support Palestine doesn't want, though the religion is common. So there is a link between the land and the people.
So let me ask you, when in this country you spoke about land and you spoke about population, when in this country there is a debate on Waqf boards, where do you stand on that debate? Is it purely a demographic debate? Is it purely the majority population trying to impose on the minority population? Or do you think there is a basis to the worry of how the law stands as it does today, and that the law needs to be looked at, especially as we see in Tamil Nadu, old temples, 1500-year-old temples have fallen into Waqf land. Now we are latest seeing, a controversy erupting in Karnataka itself. How do you see this entire issue?
I will tell you an anecdotal example. In Mylapore, where I reside, there was about 80 grounds of land, which is just a stone's throw from my house. And the case was that it belonged to a Hindu. But in 1920s, a Muslim employee in registrar's office began paying the ground rent for that area. And not only that, 80 or 90 grounds, a very large part of Mylapore, he began paying rent in the name of some masjid. And they began claiming it is a Waqf property. The Supreme Court finally decided 6-7 years back that this was a false claim. So we do not know whether the claim of a Waqf hold over any property is correct or not. And this has to be very clearly investigated and gone into. So a new law is needed. There is absolutely no doubt that in a country like India, where land records have been a recent creation, it was more a socially accepted norm who the land belongs to. I am from a village. I don't think any of us had any doubt about who the land belonged to, which family, for generations. But all this became a matter of dispute when land grabbing began happening. And there are two kinds of land grabbing. Waqf is a religious land grabbing. And if you look at politicians, it is economic land grabbing. Both kinds of land grabbing have created a huge problem in India. This secular land grabbing is being addressed by various methods. In Tamil Nadu, I knew it is being very seriously addressed. But the religious land grabbing has not been addressed, and it is good that the central government is taking up this issue.
But do you think we'll see any consensus coming out of the JPC on the issue?
You see, the JPC will have to finally come out with a report. Whether it comes out with a reasonable report, of course, anything reasonable can also be dissented to. But if it comes out with a reasonable report, and if it is implemented, there will be objections, there will be problems, people will go to court, and there is fortunately judiciary in India, which is fairly independent, and sometimes the judiciary also wants to prove that it is independent of the government and takes decisions, which I have myself seen. And so I don't think even in the Citizenship Amendment Act, which was one of the most contested laws, the Supreme Court has finally decided. So this issue will also go to the Supreme Court and finally it will be decided. But it is necessary that this issue is debated, legislated and judicially decided.
Dr. Gurumurthy, in the end, I just want to ask you, there's a new star trying to make political waves in Tamil Nadu, your state. Actor Vijay, who's come out secular, looking at all religious books, huge crowds turning up from him. Do you think Tamil Nadu politics is on the cusp of some kind of change?
See, Tamil Nadu politics is in for a change. There is no doubt, because there is not this two powerful leaders leading and getting the polity polarized. That situation is not there. And so the polity in Tamil Nadu has been moving. And of course, in a democracy, it doesn't move in one day. And there are several forces which keep the ADMK and DMK together, including caste, money, and opportunities. But the new phenomenon, Vijay, I don't think it is a greater phenomenon than Vijay Kant. Vijay Kant attracted much larger crowds, and he really promised something big. But the moment he aligned with the ADMK, he was over. So already Vijay has said that he will ally with probably ADMK, because he has ruled out the DMK and declared it as the enemy. And he says he is willing for alliance politics. You see, there cannot be an alliance politics between ADMK and Vijay, where Vijay will be the majority partner or a greater partner. So if he enters into an alliance, just like Vijay Kant, who produced much bigger impact on Tamil Nadu politics, got subsumed into the polarizing ADMK and DMK, I think the same will happen to Vijay. And I don't think he offers anything special. He offers only what the DMK and the ADMK offer. 80% of his agenda is only ADMK and DMK agenda. What is the special thing he offers to Tamil Nadu? Why should the Tamil Nadu people vote for him instead of the DMK or the ADMK? I think this will also be a passing phase, except M.G. Ramachandran, who built a political party within the DMK as MGR Fans Association. And he had politically competent cadre who worked with the DMK and who became the ADMK. No other actor can produce an organization. For example, I worked with Rajnikant. The problem we discussed was, you command a huge number of people, but there is no backbone. Where is the organization? Where is the structure? Where is the discipline? So it's impossible to create. M.G. Ramachandran was not just gathering crowds. He had a built-in organization which resided within the DMK and came out. That advantage no actor has. And I think Vijay will face the same problem which others faced. But I think he will have much more difficulty now than others, because it is not just between the DMK and the ADMK. The Tamil Nadu politics is getting splintered. And the BJP is also emerging as a player. And Vijay, having declared BJP as an ideological enemy, carves out a place for the BJP which is not available to other parties.
Well, clearly the binoculars that Dr. Gurumurthy holds in his hands far more insightful than what ordinary human beings can see, but gives us food for thought and gives us something to chew on. But thank you very much, Dr. Gurumurthy, for joining me on the News Hour tonight. Lovely to have you on the show and share insights into such diverse issues. We will, of course, once again get together to look at many other issues facing the country. But for now, thank you very much for joining me on the News Hour tonight.